Marvel Studios has announced what's on their plate through 2021, giving us plenty to speculate about when it comes to just what Phase 4 will entail. From plot details to casting rumors to surprising character connections, here's everything we've heard so far. On the heels of her tragic death in Avengers Endgame, Scarlett Johansson's character Natasha Romanoff will be kicking off Phase 4 of the MCU with her long-anticipated Black Widow movie. This film will be set earlier in the MCU timeline, between Captain America Civil War and Avengers Infinity War, back when Natasha was still alive and kicking butt. In the film, Natasha's Russian spy past seems to be catching up with her as she contends with fellow Red Room graduate Yelena Belova, played by Florence Pugh. Rachel Weisz will also be part of the film, but all we know about her character so far is that she's named Melina. However, fans have speculated that she could be Melina Vostokov, who's known as Iron Maiden in the comics. David Harbour is also on board as Alexei Shoskotov, otherwise known as the Red Guardian, a sort of Russian version of Captain America. The film's main villain will be the copycat Taskmaster, but there's no word yet on who will be behind the character's skull mask. We'll see how Natasha fares against him on May 1st, 2020. The stage was star-studded at 2019 San Diego Comic-Con with a brilliant ensemble cast of the Eternals, set to release November 6, 2020. This film will follow a group of ancient godlike aliens, many of whom have ties to Greek mythology. Angelina Jolie will play Thena, whose character is a reference to the Olympian goddess Athena. Richard Madden of Game of Thrones fame is playing Icarus, one of the mightiest Eternals, named for the Greek myth of the boy who flew too close to the sun. The Eternal Phastos, played by Brian Tyree Henry, is a pseudo-Hephaestus due to his weaponsmithing skills, while Sprite, played by Liam McHugh, is a young Loki-like trickster. Kumail Nanjiani will play Kingo, an Eternal who's been living in Japan for millennia following the way of the samurai. And Don Lee will be playing Gilgamesh, and although the characters of Ajak and the Deaf, Hermes-inspired Makari are both male in the comics, they'll be portrayed on-screen by Salma Hayek and Deaf actress Lauren Ridloff. Then, during the 2019 D23 Expo in Anaheim, a few more exciting names were added to the already impressive Eternals cast. Gemma Chan, who played the ill-fated Minerva in Captain Marvel, will be rejoining the MCU in the Eternals as Cersei. In the comics, Cersei lives among humans in New York, throwing lavish parties where she entertains her guests by passing her superpowers off as magic tricks. Also joining the cast are Barry Keoghan as the vicious ex-KGB agent Druig, and Game of Thrones actor Kit Harington as the non-Eternal superhero Dane Whitman, also known as Black Knight. Harrington's role will reunite him with his Game of Thrones brother Richard Madden, and may seem like familiar territory for viewers, since Black Knight is also the recipient of a weighty family legacy and a thematically significant sword. Canadian actor Simu Liu will be portraying the hero Shang-Chi in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And Kevin Feige has promised that he will soon be a household name everywhere. Liu is probably best known for his role in the sitcom Kim's Convenience, but his action experience comes from his role in the TV series Taken and his stunt work on the sets of Designated Survivor and Heroes Reborn. Liu had actually tweeted about his interest in the role back in December of 2018. Using the Shang-Chi hashtag, the actor wrote, "Okay Marvel, are we gonna talk or what?" Apparently, Marvel and Liu did talk, and he thanked the studio on Twitter for getting back to him when his role was officially announced. Starring alongside Liu in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings will be Awkwafina of Crazy Rich Asians fame. We'll also finally meet the real Mandarin, as opposed to the fake version played by Ben Kingsley in Iron Man 3. The Mandarin is the leader of the Ten Rings terrorist organization and will be played by award-winning actor Tony Leung. We'll see what kind of villain the real Mandarin is on February 12th, 2021. Rather than focusing solely on big blockbuster films, the MCU is expanding into the world of television for Phase 4. The next few years will see a group of new Marvel shows releasing on the streaming platform Disney+, which will all tie directly into the established world of the MCU. Releasing in the summer of 2021, the animated series What If promises to be an especially intriguing look at the world of Marvel. Based on the comic series of the same name, What If will explore alternate versions of the events in the MCU. The show's voice cast boasts a staggering number of MCU movie stars, from Michael B. Jordan to Michael Rooker. The series' first episode will focus on what would have happened if Hayley Atwell's character Peggy Carter took the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers in Captain America: The First Avenger. We'll watch these alternate timelines unfold through the eyes of the Watcher, voiced by Westworld's Jeffrey Wright. Steve Rogers' two best friends, Bucky Barnes and Sam Wilson, will team up against Captain America Civil War villain Zemo in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. coming to Disney Plus in the fall of 2020. The series will star Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan as the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and will feature the return of Daniel Bruhl as Zemo, Emily Van Camp as Sharon Carter, and Wyatt Russell as new character John Walker. But wait, isn't Sam supposed to be Captain America now? At the end of Avengers Endgame, an aged Steve Rogers handed his red, white, and blue shield over to Sam as Bucky looked on approvingly. Never fear! In an interview with MTV News, Mackie promised that the new Captain America will make his debut at some point during The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He's already been fitted for his new star-spangled suit, and according to Mackie,
it looks really good.
where did Loki go when he snatched up the Tesseract and disappeared from 2012 during Avengers Endgame's time heist? Apparently, we'll get the chance to find out in the upcoming Disney Plus series, Loki. Tom Hiddleston will be reprising his role as the God of Mischief, and it's been confirmed that the series picks up right after Loki winked out of existence. The actor told San Diego Comic-Con that the Loki series is one of the most exciting creative opportunities he's ever encountered, saying that he couldn't wait to get started. In addition to a new world, Loki may also take us to a whole new time period. A preview image for the series shows Thor's younger brother in front of a promotional sign for the film Jaws, which was released in 1975. Without the Time Stone, we have no idea how Loki's managing his time hopping, but we'll have to wait until the show releases in the spring of 2021 to find out. Marvel has been pretty mysterious when it comes to WandaVision, the third of its new Disney Plus shows, especially when it comes to how the series fits into the current MCU timeline. Vision, played by Paul Bettany, was killed by Thanos at the end of Avengers Infinity War. So how is he supposed to star alongside his girlfriend Wanda in a show that takes place after the events of Avengers Endgame? In the words of Elizabeth Olsen, who plays Wanda Maximoff, it's gonna get weird. Also unclear is how Monica Rambeau will factor into the storyline of WandaVision. The young Monica first charmed audiences with her mischief in Captain Marvel, and WandaVision will feature the character all grown up. The adult Monica will be played by Tiana Paris, who might even get in on the superhero action herself. She'll be joined by Kat Dennings, reprising her role as Darcy Lewis from the first two Thor movies, Randall Park as Jimmy Woo from Ant-Man and the Wasp, and newcomer Katherine Hahn as Wanda and Vision's nosy neighbor. We'll find out how they all come together when WandaVision arrives on Disney Plus in the spring of 2021. Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange is getting his own sequel in Phase 4, ominously titled Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Elizabeth Olsen's Wanda Maximoff will be co-starring in the film, which will tie directly into the events of WandaVision, and we wouldn't be surprised if Multiverse of Madness also crossed over with the alternate universes of Marvel's animated What If series. The title for the Strange sequel leads us to suspect that some Lovecraftian adventures are in store for the Sorcerer Supreme, and director Scott Derrickson seemed to confirm our suspicions. Speaking to the audience at San Diego Comic-Con about what drew him to the Doctor Strange comics and what his plans were for the film sequel, Derrickson said, "They dipped into the gothic and the horror and the horrific, and we're going to make the first scary MCU film. We'll discover the mysteries of the multiverse when Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is unveiled on May 7th, 2021. It's been a rocky relationship, but after a brief trial separation, Sony and Marvel have officially gotten back together for one more film. Spider-Man 3 will release on July 16th, 2021, making it a belated addition to the MCU's Phase 4. No casting has been confirmed yet, but it's safe to assume that in addition to Tom Holland, we'll also be seeing the return of Jacob Batalon as Ned and Zendaya as MJ, as well as Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, and Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan. And given the cliffhangers at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, we'd be surprised if J.K. Simmons doesn't make an appearance as Joe Jonah Jameson as well. Like the first two films, the MCU Spider-Man 3 will be helmed by director John Watts. No plot details have been released for the third Spider-Man outing yet, including whether or not it will cross over with Venom or any other part of Sony's own Spider-Verse. However, since the MCU only has Peter Parker confirmed for one more movie, we're prepared for Spider-Man 3 to pave the way for Spidey to exit the Marvel Cinematic Universe for good. Sony has been pretty eager to get notorious Spider-Man villains of Sinister Six on screen for a long time, and has in fact already introduced several of the group's members, such as the Vulture in Spider-Man Homecoming and Mysterio in Spider-Man Far From Home. Spider-Man 3 would be an excellent opportunity to round out the lineup by bringing in another member of the group. and the most likely candidate to battle Spidey in his third Marvel outing is Kraven the Hunter. Before he'd officially been tapped to direct Spider-Man 3, John Watts mentioned that if the villain of the third movie was up to him, it would be Kraven. What's more, Far From Home scribes Chris McKenna and Eric Summers have mentioned Kraven as the next villain they'd like to see Spidey fight. Additionally, Sony is already working on developing a Kraven solo film, which means the Hunter is already on his way to the big screen. We'll just have to wait to find out whether he makes a stop in the MCU first. Set to release in the fall of 2021, the series logo for Hawkeye is almost an exact replica of the one used for the much-loved comic run by Matt Fraction and David Archer. Fraction and Archer's stylish series, which focused on Clint Barton's everyday non-superhero life, placed particular emphasis on the Archer's various relationships, especially between Barton and his protege, Kate Bishop. A master strategist and fighter with deadly aim, the Kate Bishop of the comics is also the leader of the Young Avengers, but is otherwise a down-to-earth human like Barton. Bishop is confirmed to have a spot in the Hawkeye series, and will presumably take over the Hawkeye mantle from Clint at some point, like she does in the comics. We can't wait to see the dynamic between Jeremy Renner's laid-back Hawkeye as he mentors the sharply witty Kate. After the massive success of Thor Ragnarok, director Taika Waititi is returning to helm the fourth installment in the Thor series, Thor: Love and Thunder. But when the film rumbles into theaters on November 5th, 2021, it'll be bringing a new God of Thunder with it. While Chris Hemsworth will be returning as Thor, Waititi announced that Natalie Portman's Jane Foster will take on Mjolnir in Love and Thunder to become Mighty Thor. In the comics, Jane became Thor when Thor was no longer worthy of Mjolnir, while Thor renamed himself Odinson and went off to travel the universe. Tessa Thompson will also return as Valkyrie, decreed the King of New Asgard at the end of Endgame. Thompson already has her own ideas about what Valkyrie's first order of business will be in Love and Thunder, telling the audience at San Diego Comic-Con, quote, "She needs to find her queen." Many will remember Wesley Snipes' iconic performance as the sharp-fanged, sharp-witted title character in the original Blade trilogy of films. Now, Oscar-winning actor Mahershala Ali will be stepping into the role of the half-vampiric vampire hunter for a new Marvel solo film. Calling the MCU's new Blade one of our time's greatest working actors, Kevin Feige revealed that Ali was already a huge fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as well as the character of Blade himself, not long before he was cast in the role. Feige went on to say,
"He's going to destroy the part. I mean, it's a dream. It's the kind of dream casting that you almost don't dare to dream that you could actually do it."
The mysterious Twitter user who correctly predicted a number of key plot points in Avengers Endgame months before the movie came out is back with a possible Phase 4 scoop. According to that account, which goes by the handle Roger Waddell, Marvel Studios are a big fan of David Morrissey and are considering multiple roles for him for Phase 4. Morrissey gained fame among comic book fans when he embodied one of The Walking Dead's biggest and baddest villains, the Governor. He's been proving his versatility ever since, playing more than just megalomaniacs, but we wouldn't mind if he brought another bad guy to life. We could see Morrissey taking on the role of Spider-Man villain Norman Osborn, or iconic Fantastic Four antagonist Dr. Doom. On the other hand, just because Morrissey has played villains in the past doesn't mean he can't play a good guy now. After all, Marvel still has plenty of heroic roles left to fill. Whether he comes aboard as a hero or a villain, we're sure Morrissey will make a fantastic addition to the MCU. Just when we thought we knew everything to expect in Phase 4 of the MCU, Marvel threw us for a loop by announcing a trio of additional new MCU shows at the 2019 D23 Expo. Ms. Marvel will follow Pakistani-American teen hero Kamala Khan. In the comics, Kamala is an Inhuman who idolizes Carol Danvers and takes up her pre-Captain Marvel mantle after discovering that she too has superpowers. Showrunner Bisha K. Ali hasn't yet revealed whether the series will show Kamala's first days as Ms. Marvel, or whether it will pick up with the character after she's already been established, similar to Peter Parker's introduction in Captain America: Civil War. Kamala blazed new territory in the comics as the first Muslim character to headline her own Marvel book, and to see her on screen in the MCU will be a significant step forward in the battle for more diverse representation in Hollywood, especially if the character eventually crosses over to the films. We don't have any idea yet when Ms. Marvel will hit Disney+, or where it will fit into Marvel's increasingly crowded schedule. However, since the series was announced as part of Marvel's Phase 4 timeline, we can safely assume it will be before the end of 2021. The second of the new Disney Plus shows announced at D23 2019, Moon Knight follows former mercenary Mark Spector, who gains superpowers from the god Khonshu during a mission that goes sideways in Egypt. In many ways, Moon Knight has functioned in the comics as Marvel's version of Batman, since Spector acts as a vigilante who uses his substantial fortune to outfit himself with advanced gadgetry that helps him hunt down bad guys. However, Spector comes with a unique twist that's bound to make his transition to screen both interesting and potentially tricky. In the comics, Spector struggles with dissociative identity disorder, or DID, which gives him 3 distinct personalities. In addition to Spector, there's also wealthy businessman Stephen Grant and street-smart cab driver Jake Lockley. These 3 personalities all work together to help Moon Knight to battle evil, and Moon Knight's creative team will have their work cut out for them when it comes to avoiding the problematic tropes that often accompany fictional portrayals of characters with DID. Moon Knight will be helmed by lead writer Jeremy Slater, who previously developed the Umbrella Academy comics into a successful series for Netflix. Tweeting about his involvement on Moon Knight, Slater wrote, "We've assembled a room full of brilliant writers who truly love this character, and we're all hard at work crafting something special for you." The last of the Disney Plus shows announced at D23 was She-Hulk, which will center around Bruce Banner's cousin, Jennifer Walters. In the comics, Jennifer is an attorney who receives her Hulk powers from an emergency blood transfusion from Bruce. Most likely, Jennifer will gain her powers sometime after the blip in the Disney Plus series, which will hopefully mean we'll get at least a Mark Ruffalo cameo in She-Hulk, if not a more extensive role. The She-Hulk series will be helmed by showrunner Jessica Gao, who won an Emmy for her writing on the Rick and Morty episode Pickle Rick. As for who will play Jennifer herself, no casting has been announced yet, although fans have proposed a variety of talented actresses for the part, including Jamila Jamil, Constance Wu, Stephanie Beatrice, and Blake Lively. Thanks to motion capture technology, whoever Marvel casts in the role will probably not have to physically portray Jennifer in her hulked-out state, but will need to embody her wit, intelligence, strong moral compass, and ability to snarkily break the fourth wall. As with Ms. Marvel and Moon Knight, we don't know exactly when She-Hulk will slot into Marvel's Phase 4 schedule, but expect it to be before the end of 2021. Check out one of our newest videos right here, plus even more Looper videos about the Marvel Cinematic Universe are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the bell so you don't miss a single one.